There are a lot of people in the business world, and some are special and kind of get it and understand the importance of helping people succeed and doing more than just the work of it, but the whole realm of business and helping people move up and mentoring people and making sure it's a good workplace. And Mike really gets it. And he's pretty vocal about getting it. And he's an asset to a company, and he's an asset to employees, his peers, and the people that report to him. His management team, are you an asset to them? Yes, he's a huge asset to them. You know why? Because he will tell them straight what's going on. And a lot of people won't. And it's kind of like if you're going somewhere and you ask somebody a question about how you look. Do you want them to say you look good if you don't? And then you walk out and you don't look good? Yes, you do. So that's not Mike then. But he's the one who will tell you how it is and help you be better because he's willing to give you the tough message. Mike Thomas today is the executive in charge of production for Turner Studios, and he is here to tell you a little bit about his background and about what he does. Mike Thomas.
And thank you for inviting me into your classroom. I appreciate that a lot. My title is executive in charge of production, and I was lucky because they asked me what they wanted my title to be, and I made it up on the spot and pretty much told them that. And it's really, means nothing, but it's impressive at parties, and it looks good on the business card. So that's pretty cool. I thought it started kind of the beginning of how I got into this business. And I got into the business in a pretty unconventional way. Right out of high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I kind of had an inkling that I wanted to get into electronics because I like messing with stuff a little bit. Actually knocked around for a year. I mean, I went to junior college for a while, knocked around for about a year, just kind of still living at home. I went back to visit one of my favorite teachers. And she looked at me and embarrassed me into actually doing something about it. She said, "What you doing?" And I said, "Well, just kind of knocking around." She said, "Oh, still living off your parents?" Ooh, yeah, great. And she told me about this little instructional television place. I grew up in Hagerstown, Maryland, which is about 60 miles away from D.C. And I went to a Catholic school. So she told me that the public schools had a live instructional television network that beamed shows into their classrooms, and they got people who were going to junior college and brought them in over the summer and trained them and paid them when they were training them. So you could just go apply for the job, and so that's what I did. And then went in to do the training and literally stood behind a camera, put the headsets on, grabbed it, and knew right then that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And that was, I'm embarrassed to say, 40 years ago. So that's the way I started in this business. And as Liz said, I'm kind of outspoken. For some reason, I just can't keep my mouth shut. And I'm very opinionated about the way business should be in general and what the creative community should be in particular. And I kind of want to get into kind of the myth busting of the creative world. Probably the thing is, the creative world's not all that creative. It's about working with a lot of different people and a lot of different things. We were just talking about Adult Swim. And I think that you kind of get the idea that there's a bunch of whacked guys sitting around throwing all these ideas out. And that's kind of not the way it works. That's a part of it, but that's not the way it works. The way it works is you go into these meetings, and you might have an idea or two, and you're dealing with people who are, frankly, not that creative. They are, not that lawyers can't be creative, but there are lawyers there and there are financial people there, and they have a lot to say about whether a show gets on the air or not. So it's about the ability to work with different personalities and trying to figure that out. And what I've learned is you don't figure it out. What I've learned is you just be what you are and you can't help it. And I've kind of come up with a few rules of how you get ahead and how you do your career. And rule number one is you have to have fun. You're going to be doing whatever you pick to do for a long time. Whether you're going to go from one thing to the next or not, you're going to be doing it for a long, long time. And you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. But I think what you have to do is you have to have fun at doing it. And what do I mean by fun? There aren't many jobs that you get to go into that you get to dress the way you're dressed now. You know? And if you want to do that, then this is the kind of career that you want to get into. I mean, this is dressed up for me. You know, I usually, kind of wear a t-shirt and blue jeans. I'm always wearing some kind of hat that says something. That's basically what I do, and the reason I do that is because I want to have fun in what I do. I just want to be real with people, and I want to have a good time doing it. One of the things that I do as a sideline is I work with a lot of people your age to try to help them get into their careers. And again, I don't know what your perception of what my role is or what my job is. And one of the guys that I work with and have a really good time with is JJ, from JJ in Atlanta. And we see eye to eye. So anything he taught you guys or showed you guys, I pretty much buy into. JJ, one of the rules, another one of the rules, he's great. Another one of the rules I have is nice trumps competence. And when you work with a lot of people, and if you work with managers a lot, people that are above your head, generally this business it has a really hard time with nice people. You know, the reason you hear about the Tom Hanks of the world and people like that is because there's not many of them. You know, the really successful leaders in business, and I hate to say this, but they're not particularly nice people. I mean, Steve Jobs ain't nice. The guy that runs, the WWE, Vince McMahon, is not a nice person. You know, he knows his business and he knows what he wants, but he is not a nice person. If you start to emulate that too early in your career, what you're going to wind up doing is being unemployed. We went through, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been doing this in management. And one of the hardest things that you wind up doing when you work in a small or a big company, is you're going to deal, especially in these kind of economic times, you're going to be dealing with layoffs. And again, I'm going to say stuff that Liz is probably going to slap me around about later. Some of the people that you kind of, I won't say target because you don't target anybody, but when it comes to time to lay people off, one of the things that you add into this is their ability to get along with other people. And generally the first line of people that wind up being on that list of being let go are the people that can't get along with anybody. They may be really good at what they do, and it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Now, that's not to say that not being good at what you do doesn't matter. That matters a lot. But you have to have the complete package. You can't be really, really, really good and expect that to get you anywhere. And the reason that isn't just because you should be nice, but because of what this business is and every business is about the connections you make with each other. I mean, there are probably people, you guys might be people that I should know because of your background, because of your ability, because of what you've done, because of what you want to do. I don't know you from Adam's cat. I mean, I don't know you. So who I get to know you, how do you get to know me? It's about connections. It's connections through Liz, it's connections through other people that I might know, it's connections with just reaching out to people. So it's, there's an adage, and I've spent a lot of time probably screaming about it and how it's not true. And it kind of is. And that adage, and I'm going to clarify this a little bit, but that adage is, it isn't what you know, it's who you know. The trick is getting to know those people. It's the connections that you have to make. It's not just knowing anybody. I probably get, 15 or 20, not making this up, 15 or 20 emails from people I don't know looking to forward their resume to HR so they heard there was a job opening, could you do it? And my reaction is very honest. Sometimes I'll even call them up and I'll kind of, hey, thanks for reaching out to me. I don't know you. I don't know you. And your resume may be stellar, but it's not about you, it's about me. It's about you're asking me to put my reputation on the line for you. Well, if I don't know you, I'm not going to do that. Same rule apply. If there's a job opening at Turner Broadcasting and somebody comes to me or I see it, and I'm always on the look for helping out people to get jobs. So if there's like an associate producer or a PA position or an internship, and we pay our interns, I generally reach out to those people with people that I know and go, I can recommend these people. Even if they didn't ask me, I can say, there's somebody out there that you need to talk to. So it's all about the connections that you make. I want to kind of get back to, it's not what you know, it's who you know, kind of, sort of. Because if you don't know anything, it doesn't do you any good to make those connections. Nice and friendly, and you can have a great dinner conversation, but you're not offering any value. There's really no value to me, to the organization. And anytime you make a connection, the easiest way to make the connection is have something to offer. It's not about, the error that people make when they contact me is they want something from me. They're not doing anything for me. And that's what this is about. And it can be stupid, simple stuff. I ran across a video the other day, and I actually put it on my blog. And it's an old video, but it's from a group called Just Jack. And it's called The Day I Died is the Best Day of My Life. And the message of it is basically just pay attention to the details. The video is just tremendous. It's about a guy that starts out in the morning and gets up and he loves his wife and he, hugs his kids and goes off, has a really great day at work. He has a tremendous day and he gets hit by a taxi at the end. But as dumb as that sounds and as awful as that sounds, it's a really uplifting video. And it's a lot of fun to see. The other thing too is one of the things, like I said, is having fun, but it's doing what you like to do. It just has to carry you a long way because the money's not going to do it. And believe me, I love the money. I was going to sit here and say, hey, when people tell you money can't buy happiness, they're wrong. They're wrong. The people that tell you that money can't buy happiness have money. They have money. I love Oprah. If I had that kind of money, I'd tell you, that too. Can money buy happiness? Yes. No, not true happiness. Can money make you happy? Yes. Hello. Can money buy health? Yes. Money buys great health care, but not necessarily health. So, in one way, you absolutely believe, you can believe that. Money can't buy happiness. The other part of that is, it depends on what your goal is. Who's got a goal?
Me.
What is it?
Well, I want to be on the behavior analysis team for the FBI.
You want to be on what?
The behavior analysis team for the FBI.
Okay. Okay, so you want to be on the behavior team for the FBI. Wow. I just wanted to be rich. So you got...
That's why she wants to take forensics.
Man, so forensics is great. You know, I've always said this too, and this is, you know, like I said, I feel like I'm Mythbuster. But, you know, anybody who's watched an award show has watched the winner of the award get up, you know, and they're usually crying and, you know, they're really happy and, you know, they'll sit there and they'll go, oh, I have a message for everybody out there. My message is don't let anybody talk you out of what you want to do. Don't let anybody talk you out of your goal. Hell, that's the easy part. Finding it's the hard part. And that's the hard part. I mean, congratulations on knowing what you want to do and passionately get behind that. You know, it's the question that a friend of mine asked, and believe me, just because I'm an old dude doesn't mean I don't fight these things like you fight these things. You know, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, and people will reach out to me the same thing, and I lose this a lot. It's they think I've made it. You know, I love doing what I do, and I love working where I work, and I like making a good living, and I like doing this, but I'm not done yet. You know, and so I'm like you. I'm trying to figure out what's my goal. What do I want to do? Again, that's an easy question to ask. We need the answer. We don't need the question. So in talking to this person, you know, generally when people ask me what I want to do, other than I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I don't want to be famous. I just want to be rich. I want to be able to run something. You know, I mean, I'm a smart guy. And I don't want to have to deal with troglodytes in my life that I have to kind of convince that, frankly, I'm a genius. You know, that I really want to do what you know, whether it's a TV show or whether I want to get rich or drive a, you know, Lamborghini or whatever it is. That's what I want to do. And I was having some real trouble with that a couple of weeks ago, just trying to figure out what's my next step. Because the good news about Turner, or working for a large organization, is you're working for Turner, and it's a great organization. The bad news is it's not going to last forever. And so you have to know what that next step is, and you have to know where you're going to go, and you have to lead your own life. You cannot react to steal Liz's thunder here. You don't want to react to somebody else's plan. You want to be proactive. You want to be the person who's driving that bus. And then you can say to people, no, you're wrong. I'm going to go do this. So the question that he asked me that really got me thinking and actually helped me define the goal is, what does it look like? It's ask yourself that question. What does this look like? You know, how do I know when that was part of my problem. That's still part of my problem, and I'm just giving you my life lesson here, is that by most standards in my business, I've got a great title. I make a living. I work at an organization that people have heard of. I work, you know, I do shows that people have heard of. You know, I get to work on shows like Conan, and I get to work on shows like The Closer, and I get to work on, you know, Adult Swim shows, and I get to work with those people. And then I ask myself on certain days, why ain't I satisfied? Because I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what that success looks like. You know, it could be as easy as, dude, look in the mirror. And you can see what that looks like. But like you said, you know, it's like, I know what this looks like. And what this looks like is a scene from, you know, Without a Trace, where I'm working with like-minded people. I am working with a team of very talented, successful professionals that care about this as much as I care about. And guess what happens when you get there? No, you're not. No, you're not. And again, I'm not saying that to blast your dream. I'm saying that because if you're not having fun, if it's not passionate, it's just not worth it. I mean, I work with people, and again, people are going to go to the website and go, Mike said he's working with a bunch of troglodytes. Great. Good. Can I edit this first? No, there are going to be people that are all moving in the same direction as you want to. If I'm doing a television show, I need everybody in the room to understand what that television show is going to look like and how we're all going to get there. What I don't expect is for everybody to agree how we do it. And that's what's going to happen. What's going to happen is either by rank or by, you're going to run into people that are smarter than you are or dumber and more powerful, that you have got to be articulate and you have got to stand your ground and not just scream and yell. You have to reason this out. And you have to, boy, if you're taking forensics, the classes you guys are taking, oh my God. I mean, it's amazing because it helps that thought process. You are going to try to argue with someone who doesn't care about what you're trying to do. I mean, or if somebody has an agenda that isn't quite your agenda, or a agenda that you need. I mean, the practical side of my work is it takes a lot of money and a lot of resources and a lot of different talents to do what I want to do. I can't just stand in a room. No producer can stand in a room and go, I want to do a thing called Robot Chicken, and it's about this, and it's about this. Well, you better have a team behind you that can do this thing called Robot Chicken. You better have a group of people that at least kind of understand what you're trying to convey and then go ahead and move forward and convey it. And it gets back to there's only one thing that's going to make you do that, and that's if you're having fun doing it and it fits in with your goal. And it keeps coming back to that, and you have to know what that thing looks like. And you have to be, if you're not having fun, it's pointless. And again, work isn't always fun. I mean, before we came over here, I was talking to Liz, and my 2 days have been, they've been literally 20-hour days, and they have been delivering bad news, and they've been changing things in television and not in television, and they've been hard. But at the end of the day, I'm satisfied because this is what I asked for. This is what I wanted to do. The other part of it is all of that stuff doesn't mean anything if you're not willing to work at it. There can be 1,000 motivation. This is my current hot button. There can be 1,000 motivational speakers. You can read 1 million books on motivation and how to succeed and goal setting and all that stuff. And if you're not willing to do the work, it just doesn't matter. And I can't possibly convey to you how hard it is to do that. It is hard. One is the competition that's out there. You have no hope. I mean, the odds are astronomical that you can succeed at all, but you can succeed. You just have to have such a commitment to yourself. And that's not impossible. It's not impossible. Matter of fact, when people tell me that, I just kind of laugh in their face. It's like, yeah, watch this. Watch this. And a lot of the stuff that I've done in spite of what I had to work with, not because. I mean, I worked when I was in school, and my mom was a single mom, and I had 3 brothers and a sister, and it was tough going. And I didn't go to an A-class school, and I grew up in Hagerstown, Maryland, where they had Mack Truck, and everybody I worked with, all they wanted to do is get a job at Mack Truck. I had camera operators. What do you want to do, Mike? I want to be a director. I want to direct television. I want to do these shows. What do you want to do? Well, my dad's going to get me in a Mack Truck, and I'm going to make $17 an hour in Mack Truck. And you're okay with that? Yeah, I'm okay with that. And I couldn't believe it. I just don't think that people convey enough how difficult it is to succeed. And it kind of brings me kind of full circle back that there's only one thing that can make you stick to that. I mean, why would anybody in their right mind get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, write scripts, do all the stuff that you have to do at home, go to work till 10 o'clock at night, come home, have phone conversations until, midnight, fall on your face, dead asleep, and get up and do it over again. Why would you do that? That's a good answer. That's a really good answer. And if that's what floats your boat and that's what you want to do, then here's the problem with that. A lot of times it's not in your control how much money you can make. Now, the other thing is, what does that look like? I come back to the same thing. There's nothing wrong. You're not going to get me to stand here and go, oh, no, listen, it's much more important to have, really close friends and this is important stuff. And don't tell me, and don't say that, don't misconstrue what I'm saying here. Don't think that I'm going, hey, family's not important, friends aren't important, and connections aren't important. Because there's going to be days that you cannot hug a $100 bill. There are going to be days that you're going to want somebody you sit down next to, whether it's a friend or a lover or whoever it is, a confidant, a colleague, and you just had a bad day, and all you want to do is bitch. When I started, this shows you how old I am. When I started in my TV job, they paid me. I told you. There was this internship. I got to go in. They trained me. Anybody want to guess what I made an hour?
$3.25. 8.
225.
125.
I made $1.
Final.
I made $1 an hour. Now I'm telling you, I'm an old dude. I've been doing this 40 years. Subtract 40 from what this date is, and it was, yeah, right. Now here's the deal. Back in the day, before color, that's how old I am. Back before videos and stuff, they paid me $1 an hour. When I started and got the job, they paid me $1.25 an hour because that's what the minimum wage was in 1970 when I started this stuff. Here's the other amazing thing. You know what the average mean salary was in 1970 for a family of 4? $5,000 a year. So let's go back to the money thing. When I started, all I wanted to do, I wanted to make $10,000 a year. That's what I wanted to do. That was my success. I want to do what I really like to do, and I want to make $10,000.
Things change.
$10,000 don't go too far right now. I can't buy a decent wardrobe for $10,000. But that's the danger with that. And I'm not criticizing at all. It's a never-ending thing. And it gets back to, what does success look like? What does it look like? Money. How much money? $10,000 a year. Okay, it's 1970, Mike. Telescope forward. What do you need to make mathematically to double what, to get where you want to get? I don't know what it is, but I know I'm not doing it. So part of that is, yes, money's important. I'm a big believer in money. I'm cynical about it. I believe that the people that tell you money's not important have money. But that's only a part of the equation. And frankly, and I'm being really glib here, and I'm being kind of trying for humor, but you're not interested in money. You're interested in stuff that the money can buy. And that's okay. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, it comes back to, how do you set your goals? And how do you know what your goals are? You got to know what that looks like. Because if you can't see it, you won't know. You won't know. It's not even a matter of, it helps if you can see it, and then you can, how do I build the road to get there? And that's really important. But what's really important is, if you can't see it, you don't know when you're there. And again, it's easy for me to say that because I'm living proof of it. There are people I work with that would kill me for my job, and it's like, no, have at it. Don't kill me. I'll just give it to you. It's not a big deal. And it took me a long time to really sit back and go, what does success look like? What does success look like? I mean, you know, I've got a lovely wife. I've got 2 kids that don't hate me. I've got, you know, I'm relatively healthy for an old dude. I get to dress like this. What?
You're not even that
Okay,
old.
I'm not even that old. Thank you very much. I get to dress like this, you know, when I go to work. You know, it just doesn't get much cooler than that. I mean, I know, you know, a friend of mine who got laid off 2 years ago was an editor. He's driving a truck. That's what he's doing for a living. He's driving a truck, and he don't like it. But it's hard. I mean, it's hard to get a job, and that's the economy. But you know, I think if there's a message, that message is really think about your goals and really. I mean, and it's okay to kind of bob around. I'm also a big believer in the beachcombers. You know, I mean, if you want to be like the best beachcomber in the world, then be the best beachcomber in the world. You know, I'll leave you with something my mom used to tell me, and it's something that I was always grateful for. And she'd just look at us, and we, you know, this kind of stuff would come up occasionally. I mean, back in the 70s, it didn't come up as much. We would say, you know, I want to do this, I want to do this. And she'd say, I don't care what you guys want to do. Just try to be the best there is at it. I don't care if you want to be a ditch digger. Just be the best ditch digger you possibly can be. You know, and that was very freeing. You know, that was like, I can do that. And if I, you know, and the last thing is, you're the only one that has to believe it. I mean, you're going to have some trouble with people that don't believe it, and you're either going to steamroll them or you're going to figure it out. But you're the only people that have to believe it.
I've got some questions for you, and I have a couple things I want to say to everyone here. You talked about it's not what you know. It's about getting along with people. It's not only about competence. And personal story, we had some work done on our house recently, and they came in ahead of schedule, and they came in on budget, and they did great work. And everyone who comes in says, oh, this looks great. And we have another project, and I wouldn't hire them again if you actually paid me to hire them. You know why? Because I don't like them. I don't like the temperament. And the temperament was so incredibly uncomfortable for me as a client that I'll sooner get work done that's not as good than pay them again to do the work for me. And that's really sad. And I'll tell you, they are more competent than probably anybody I've seen do work. And so that really speaks to your point.
Yep.
There are a couple other things that you talked about, the connections and getting to know people. Connections are so critical. Think about it. I know Mike from 1995, and JJ was here, and right, we love JJ. I met JJ through Mike. I never would have met JJ if I didn't know Mike. And I met Mike because of somebody at Turner named Bill Burke, who I had a nice conversation with, and he said, okay, that sounds like a good project. Let me have you talk to my guy and see what he thinks. And it's all about not only knowing the people, but knowing them well enough to be able to go out on a limb and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing. So are you okay if I ask you some questions? Do you have a brand?
I was afraid you were going to ask that.
No! Should I get rid of that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
What is a brand?
A brand is kind of, I guess, what you stand for. Is who you are.
So what we said to Jeff when Jeff was here,
Yeah.
and you've heard this, I said to Jeff, his brand is being a day maker.
Yes, he is. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what's yours?
I have no idea what mine is.
I think your brand is trust me, and I'm going to help you.
Okay.
Because
I'll take it.
I know what you tell me is true. I know when Mike tells me something, I better listen. There's a lot of people, when they say something, I think, good, thank you very much. And I wouldn't listen because I know it's not in my best interest. I know it when you speak, it's in my best interest. So, all right.
Okay, I'm stealing that. That's good.
You
I
steal
like
that.
I like that.
Okay. And Did you ever make a mistake and get a second chance?
Constantly.
That's one of the
Constantly.
things that was
Yeah.
brought up
I
in
mean,
one of the
that's,
speeches.
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, all the time. Literally all the time.
And what do? You make a mistake, and how do you shake it off and move forward?
Well, you know, it kind of gets back to brand. I mean, you know, it's I try to. People know that I'm really sincere and I really work hard and I really have either the show's best interest or their best interest at heart. So when I mess up every day, they kind of know that it wasn't out of malice or it wasn't out of because I didn't work hard enough or I didn't care enough. It was a mistake. I mean, you know, it happens. And I think that they're just willing to give me the opportunity to try again. And they know that I would reciprocate. I mean, you know, that's the thing about connections. I'm probably harder on myself than anybody. So if somebody around me makes a mistake, and I try to surround myself with people that are really good at what they do, and again, are what I call like-minded people. So if they make a mistake, I'm usually the first person to go, that's okay. And that's okay doesn't mean that it's okay because nobody feels worse than the person that made the mistake. And I know they'll make it right.
So can I take from that it's all right to make a mistake at work?
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. And it's one of the things that I try to teach my management. I mean, one of the things that we do kind of lip service to is we tell people all the time, you probably heard it, take a risk. Don't ask permission, ask for forgiveness later. Well, let me tell you, that's easy to say. That's really hard to do. If you're taking the risk, that's easy compared to asking your boss. I'll give you a concrete example. We're working on a show right now. It's not an expensive show. It's probably $100,000, you know, to do this particular show. And someone made a call and it cost another $20,000. That show is now $20,000 over budget because the person was in a position to make the call, and rather than, okay, Mike says, take the risk, do this. I tell you what's hard when you're Mike and that person comes to you and goes, well, you know, I thought it was the right decision at the time and I did this, but then this happened and now we're $20,000 over budget. So, you know, your knee-jerk reaction is to go, what? You know, and how could you do such a stupid thing? Well, you can't look at somebody and say, take the risk, and then blast them for taking the risk. And that's what I learned. That's what I learned. And so I try to teach that to my colleagues and to, frankly, people above me. And I've done that. I mean, I've been yelled at for bonehead things that I've done. And I'll say that. Look, you told me to take the risk. I did. So there's some shared responsibility. Will I make it better? You bet I'll make it better. I'll try to my hardest to make it better. But dude, you gave me permission. So you share the responsibility. That's hard. That's one of these things in the books. Take the risk. They never address, you know, you got to get forgiveness from somebody, you know, if you do that. And the books don't always, you know, they don't go, now give it to your manager and I'm going to tell the manager what to do when you take a risk and you screw up. That part is the part they leave out. And so it's that defense and it's that you told me and I was thinking of you. And again, it works. It's just working. It's trust. People know that if I mess up, it was honest and I had their best interests at heart. It wasn't because I was lazy, didn't feel like it, didn't check, thought they were a jerk.
So one of the things that I did when I was the head of human resources for an international company is I asked my boss, who's the CEO, if I could have a mistake budget. because something happened one day where I had to leave the office and someone on my team made a decision, the right decision, and it cost us money. And I said to my boss, I could go in there and I could chastise him for what he did, except for I think what he did was the right decision. I would have made the same decision. And can I now have a budget that people can make mistakes? And if it costs us money, that's part of their learning. And he thought it was great and he went with it. So you can steal that.
That is good. I like that. I'm stealing that. That's good.
Good.
The other thing about taking a risk, it's easy to say. There are times your job's on the line. You know, your reputation's on the line. Your career's on the line. It's hard. It's hard. And there's only one person in the room that can make that call.
Han's asking about planning for setbacks.
Yeah.
And saying that some people say if you plan for setbacks, then that's being negative. And I think I heard from someone up here that not necessarily, that's not necessarily negative. It's preparing, and just what's your...
And I think you said it. You know, I don't think you plan for failure. I think you plan for success and you prepare for the setback. I don't think it's like, my success is I want that Lamborghini. I'm going to settle for a Ferrari. You know, well, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get the Ferrari. You know, when you settle for less than you wanted, you get less than you expected. You know, so I think that's what you do. I think that there's a practical side to it. You know, and it is. You just go, what if? What if? But I'm going there. I'm going there. I don't think you plan. I hear what people are saying, that, oh no, just get that out of your head. You can get that out of your head if you want to, but you also don't want to have that setback and not be prepared for it.
So the way I look at it is I also ask about worst case scenario.
Yep.
And I'll describe the worst case scenario to people and say, are you willing to risk that? Can you deal with it? And more often than not, if you can deal with the worst case scenario, not only does that never happen, but you go further than you thought you might, because you're taking a risk. You just have to take a calculated risk where you understand what the consequences are. And as long as you can handle the consequences, go ahead. Chances are good that you'll never deal with the consequences, but you'll be complimented for taking the risk and doing well with it.
You know what? Let me give you a visual. And let me use the word goals like it's a basketball goal. And if you've ever seen like LeBron James drive a basket or anybody like that, watch what they do. Their expectation is, I'm going to score this point. And they're going to go up to make that shot. Invariably, what's going to happen is someone's going to come to block that shot. That ball goes here, up to the basket. Whoa! That was planning. That wasn't accident. That wasn't talent. It was a lot of talent, but that was training and that was planning for the alternative. I'm going to drive. What happens if he does this? And I'm going to do this cool shot. Or I'm going to pass to this guy and he's going to do the shot. So it gets back to the goal. What's your goal? Okay, my goal is to get here. What happens if I'm blocked here? I have a plan to get there. So, I mean, you can spin it any way you want. I mean, you know, the haters, you know, would say, hey, you know, no. If you're planning for your success, you have to keep your eye on the prize. You have to keep going all the time. Look at pro basketball. Look at Mr. Brady, you know, playing for the Patriots. Look at all those guys. He's looking that way, he's looking that way, he's looking that way. Touchdown. That was not an accident. Got the same goal. That's the way I look at it. I don't look at it as a step back. I look at it as, that's my goal. There's multiple ways of getting there.
So when Dennis Brosnan came to speak, and he spoke with the peer leadership class, you guys haven't seen him. He's the chief executive officer of his company. One of the messages he was trying to give everybody was the importance of confidence and being confident. And Mike, would you say that you're confident?
I'd say I'm confident most of the time. You know, that's hard. But yeah, to the point of being egomaniacal, there are days, there are days that I can't you can't be around me. I mean, it's just, it's just like, I'm absolutely convinced that, my way is the best way. So, but I'm like anybody, and this is where my connections come in. When I have self-doubt and when I'm wondering if this is the right approach, I have people around me, she's one of them, that I can pick up the phone and go, hey, I'm trying to do this, or I've stalled, and give me some perspective. My story about what does success look like came out of a cafeteria conversation I was having with a friend of mine, and it was like kind of a heartfelt kind of like, I'm kind of over this, and he went, well, dude, figure out what you want to do next, but what does success look like? And it really helped. It was like, wow, what does that look like? So, yeah, most of the time, I'm pretty confident. And if I'm not, I'm pretty good at pretending I am. So.
How do you choose who's going to be on your team? When you have the opportunity to choose your team, who do you want on your team?
I want people that I think have mutual trust. And the other thing I try to do when I build a team is really try to get a diverse mix. And I don't mean black-white. I mean, you want people that think like you do, but you want people that don't think like you do. Because those are the people that are going to like give you that knock in the head and go, oh, I didn't think of that. The problem with having a bunch of like-minded people around you is they're like-minded people and they think the same way as you do. You got to have a few people that challenge your thinking. So that's what I look for. From a practical sense, I look for male, female, young, old, different cultural background, different economic background. Those are the people that I look for. You get a bunch of people that grew up where I grew up, or they're suburbs of Washington, D.C., and they're pretty much my age. I can tell you what their favorite TV shows are. I don't want that. And actually, from a practical sense, that helps people that, are just coming up. Because that's what I look for. And I think the biggest mistake that people make when they start a project is they go to their friends. They go to people they know and they're comfortable with. And invariably, that's only going to get you so far. Because you need somebody to go, dude, they made that last week. Or, hey, this is just like this. And then start you going that way. So that's what I do. It's funny. I was talking to the main recruiter at CBS, at the networks the other day. And she was actually talking about somebody else, not me. And one of the things that she said, this kind of fits in with your story. She went to the head of the network, and said, I'm thinking about this person. What do you think? And he looked at her and said, Sheila, I don't care who you pick. I just want them to be nice. And that stuck with me, and that's the same thing. I think that you can pull somebody in, you can interview them, you can pull a complete stranger and go, hey, you know what? Again, it gets back to connections. You don't just walk out of the building and go, hey, you, So it's like, hey, my friend Al told me about you. I'd like to talk to you about a project. I do that. I absolutely do that. And then I make the assessment whether I want them on my team or not. So, yeah.
So what advice would you give the people in here if there's somebody they want to meet or connect with, or whether it be you or someone else who's been here or someone that they don't even know they've read about in the newspaper, what advice would you give them for connecting or with or contacting that person?
Just do it. That sounds so stupid. So
how do they do it?
Call them up. I'm serious. I don't think there's any magic bullet. I think writing them a nice note, researching who these people are, complimenting on some of the things they did, or complimenting them on what you liked about them, why you're contacting them. I think that's important. I think you can, the neat thing about a note is nobody gets notes. Nobody gets mail. Everybody sends an email. Everybody does a voicemail. Everybody sends a text. Nobody gets a note. You send me a note asking me for an interview, you got an interview.